The Uinta Basin in northeastern Utah is a landscape of stark contrasts where the desert sun bleaches the earth and shadows from surrounding plateaus hold secrets older than the modern world. For centuries, this region has been steeped in heavy, unspoken dread, tracing its roots to deep-seated conflicts between the Navajo and Ute tribes. This was more than a dispute over territory, it was a spiritual war that left a permanent scar upon the land. According to legend, during the time of the Great Betrayal, the Navajo invoked dark medicine so potent it birthed a nightmare. They performed a ritual of deep sacrifice, creating the Skinwalker, a shape-shifting entity born from malevolence to be used as a weapon against their Ute enemies. This creature was not merely a physical predator, but a curse manifest. A being that could assume animal forms while retaining a terrifying, inhuman intelligence. The Ute people recognized a specific patch of land as the path of the Skinwalker, a corridor where the veil between our reality and a darker realm grew dangerously thin. For generations, they avoided this area, warning that to step upon its soil was to invite the gaze of things that should not exist. They spoke of the land as being alive, reacting to intruders with cold, sentient hostility. Yet, as decades passed and old stories faded into the background of history, the warnings were dismissed as folklore. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman looked upon this rugged landscape with hope. They were hard-working ranchers seeking a place to call their own. When they purchased the 480-acre property now known as Skinwalker Ranch, they believed they had found sanctuary. They moved their children into the house, which was secured by multiple heavy deadbolts left by the previous owner, eager for a fresh start away from the noise of the world. Terry was a man of logic who believed in hard work, and Gwen shared his grounded perspective, valuing the tangible over the spectral. They had heard whispers of local superstitions but regarded them with the skepticism of those who relied on their own eyes. They were determined to make the ranch a success, unaware they were entering a theater of the unexplained that had been waiting for new observers for a long time. The first sign of trouble appeared immediately, in the form of a creature that defied the laws of nature. It was a wolf, but massive, twice the size of any wolf Terry had ever seen. It appeared near the pens, while calm and unafraid. When it suddenly lunged and clamped its jaws onto the snout of a calf, Terry grabbed his rifle and fired from point-blank range. To his horror, the wolf did not flinch. He fired repeatedly, watching bullets strike the animal hide, yet there was no blood, no yelp of pain, and no sign of injury. The wolf simply let go and trotted away with an eerie, rhythmic gait, leaving Terry in frozen shock, his mind struggling to process the impossible scene while the calf trembled beside him. This incident sparked an escalation of dread. Domestic objects would vanish from the locked house, reappearing in bizarre locations weeks later. They heard strange voices in the air, disembodied conversations in languages they did not recognize, emanating from the empty sky. The family's disbelief was replaced by a growing sense of isolation and a fear that they were being watched. They felt like intruders, subjects of a silent, predatory observation that seemed to emanate from the very stones of the property. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. One night, as the sun dipped and the basin was swallowed by darkness, Terry and Gwen investigated a strange hum vibrating through the ground. Looking up, they saw a massive, silent craft hovering over their fields, its hull reflecting no light. It was a monolithic presence that defied gravity, and in that moment the Shermans realized with chilling clarity that they were no longer the masters of their own home, but merely witnesses to a power that defied comprehension. The silence following the sighting of the massive craft was not peaceful. It was heavy with a suffocating sense of helplessness. Terry Sherman, once a man of unwavering practicality, felt his reality crumbling as the psychological toll grew profound. Sleep became a luxury they could no longer afford, as every creak of the house felt like a precursor to a new horror. The most devastating blows were struck against their livelihood. They found prize cattle dead, but these were not common predator kills. The animals were discovered with surgical, bloodless incisions, their organs removed with a precision defying the capabilities of a rancher's knife. There were no tracks leading to the carcasses, no blood on the grass, and local scavengers refused to approach the remains. The air around the mutilation sites felt stagnant and cold, as if life itself had been sucked out of the atmosphere. Desperate and fearing for his family's safety, Terry Sherman made a decision that changed the ranch's history. He went public. His story caught the attention of Robert Bigelow, a billionaire mogul with a profound interest in the paranormal. Bigelow saw the ranch as a laboratory. He purchased the property and established the National Institute for Discovery Science, known as NIDS. This brought a team of elite scientists to the basin, led by Dr. Colum Kelleher, a biochemist determined to apply scientific methodology to the chaos. They arrived with high-tech sensors, infrared cameras, and electromagnetic detectors, hoping to trap the Skinwalker in the web of human logic and categorize the impossible phenomena through observation. The arrival of the NIDS team created a tense friction between two worlds. On one side were skeptical scientists, convinced every phenomenon had a physical explanation. On the other were the terrified locals and the Shermans, who had learned that the land actively punished those who poked it. The scientists soon realized their presence was being monitored. The phenomenon possessed a precognitive intelligence, often disabling cameras seconds before an event occurred or manifesting just outside the range of their equipment. It was as if the ranch was playing a game of cat and mouse, mocking their attempts at observation and using their own curiosity as a weapon against them, turning the hunters into the hunted. The most aggressive manifestations came as sentient blue orbs. Meet these basketball-sized spheres of pulsating blue energy moved with terrifying intent. They projected a frequency that induced paralyzing primal fear. The horror peaked when Terry's 3 ranch dogs chased an orb into the thick brush. The family heard the dogs yelp in agony, followed by a sickening silence. When Terry investigated, he found 3 circular patches of scorched earth containing only charred bone and ash. The orbs were predators. Alongside these, researchers reported shadow people, tall, flickering figures watching from the periphery. These entities seemed to haunt the people on the ranch, lingering in the shadows of the command center with a cold, predatory gaze. The most insidious discovery was the hitchhiker effect. NIDS realized the ranch's influence was not confined by its fences. The researchers who left the property found that the energy followed them home. Miles away, in the safety of suburban neighborhoods, their families began seeing the same shadow figures, hearing disembodied whispers, and experiencing poltergeist activity. The ranch had attached itself to them like a spiritual parasite, proving the danger was not just local, but infectious, spreading through the lives of anyone who dared to study it. The scientific effort culminated in a moment of sheer impossibility. One evening, a high-tech surveillance camera captured something defying the laws of physics. A shimmering rift tore open in the night sky, a literal portal. Through the tear, the camera recorded a different sky altogether, a brightly lit, orange-hued horizon that looked nothing like the Utah desert. For a few seconds, a window into another dimension stood wide open. But as researchers scrambled for data, the equipment did not just fail, it inexplicably began to melt. The high-grade electronics turned to slag, as if the gateway's presence had rewritten the laws of matter, leaving the team in darkness, clutching ruined instruments and staring at a sky that had become a silent, impenetrable black. The transition from the secretive Bigelow era to the present day marked a new chapter for the Wichita Basin. In 2016, Brandon Fugel, a real estate mogul, purchased the property with a mix of professional skepticism and profound curiosity. Fugel brought the investigation into the light, assembling a team of experts equipped with technology the Shermans could never have imagined. High-definition cameras, drone swarms, And advanced LiDAR systems blanketed the property, turning the path of the Skinwalker into a digital laboratory. Yet the land remained unimpressed. The phenomenon adapted, shifting its tactics to match the precision of the new tools monitoring its every move, as if the entity were evolving alongside the technology designed to capture it. One specific warning had echoed through the decades, whispered by the local Ute people. Do not dig. The elders believed the soil was a sacred seal, and disturbing the earth would invite disaster. For a team driven by empirical data, the urge to know what lay beneath the mesa was irresistible. When they finally began excavations, the reaction was immediate. Shovels breaking the crust triggered a hostile response that felt personal. Researchers were struck by sudden, debilitating illnesses. And electronic equipment failed in ways that defied technical logic, as if the ranch itself were an organism reacting to a parasite. The tension reached a breaking point during a coordinated experiment to provoke a response. The team launched rockets into the airspace above the triangle, a localized area of bizarre activity, while saturating the atmosphere with laser scanning at the 1.6 gigahertz frequency. A massive, localized electromagnetic storm erupted from an otherwise clear sky, lightning arcing towards the ground with predatory intent. Through the haze, the team witnessed a physical manifestation, a humanoid creature, impossibly tall and blurred at the edges, stood watching from the ridge of the mesa. It possessed a stillness more frightening than any attack, a silent sentinel reminding them of their profound insignificance. This climax forced a radical shift in perspective. The researchers realized they weren't just dealing with extraterrestrial visitors, but a conscious, ancient intelligence that was profoundly reactive. It was a precognitive entity that seemed to know their intentions before they acted, responding to experiments with a dark, trickster-like sense of humor. The Skinwalker was not merely a monster from a legend. It was a manifestation of a force existing between the folds of reality, guarding a gateway that spanned dimensions. Seeking answers science could not provide, Fugel met with Ute elders. The meeting was somber, held under the mountains that witnessed the great betrayal. The elders explained the ranch was a thin place, a bridge between worlds. The Skinwalker was a necessary deterrent. In a living lock designed to keep humanity from territory it was not yet ready to handle. They warned that scientific curiosity was a dangerous vanity. To open the gateway fully would invite a force into our world that does not follow our laws of physics or morality. This revelation left the team in a state of internal conflict. They stood at the precipice of discovery yet carried a moral responsibility transcending their careers. Should they continue to poke the hive or respect the ancient boundaries? Ultimately, the ranch remains a mystery by choice. It reveals only what it wants to reveal, providing enough evidence to maintain wonder but never enough to grant human control. As the sun sets over the Uinta Basin, casting jagged shadows across the mesa, the land returns to its ancient silence. And Skinwalker Ranch remains a reminder that some places on Earth do not belong to us. They belong to things that were here before the first word was spoken, waiting in the silence for the day humanity might finally be ready to understand the gate they guard.